You're listening to the PlantX podcast, the digital face of the plant-based community. Join us as we explore the inner workings of all things plant-based, from the products and lifestyles to the people behind them. Each week, we'll be touching on what's new in the ever-expanding world of PlantX and chat with everyone from entrepreneurs and chefs to nutritionists and scientists. Whether you follow a strict plant-based diet or just want to learn more, you're invited. Now welcome our host, the man who combined his love of e-commerce and the plant-based lifestyle to create PlantX, Sean Dollinger.
Hey everyone, welcome to our 17th episode of our PlantX podcast. Thank you very much for coming and joining us at the new time here in the West Coast. We're at 5 o'clock and Eastern 8 o'clock and everywhere else in the world. So thank you very much for taking the time to join. We have two fantastic people on today from Jack Taylor PR that we've been using since essentially we went public. Jon Bier, the founder of the company, as well as Heather. So I'm excited to have them on the show shortly. We'll definitely bring them on to introduce them to everyone. And just like every other vodcast for all the newcomers, and thanks again for everybody for sharing these videos, subscribing. Please hit subscribe. And last week, thank you so much for all the thumbs up. That really helps get this video out there. And then because you guys are sharing this video with so many friends and possible investors and everyone out there, it's really, really growing. So you're taking time out. So please, any questions you guys have, make sure to ask away during the vodcast. And just a quick random story before I get into what PlantX is all about. I was driving down from Vancouver down to Seattle so that I could fly out to San Diego to work on our distribution center. And I pull off a random exit along the way and go to a random hotel that wasn't coordinated or anything. And I'm walking because they wanted me to do it from a room. And then I see this mural in back of me. And it just keeps reconnecting what PlantX is all about and the vibe that I feel. And every person that we speak to about PlantX just gets more so excited about it. And they share the story. Last time I mentioned, we now have well over 1,500 investors in the company. And that's really all due to everybody tuning in here, sharing the story and believing in what we created. And again, to recap what PlantX is all about, we're your one-stop shop for everything plant-based. So we've added verticals from meal delivery to pet food, pet products, plants. The team out in the UK is doing a great job. Love what Katie and her team are doing. And we see plant sales exploding all over North America as well. And then our grocery section. And that's the big part this week of going down to San Diego to work with the team down there, is to start the whole refrigerator and frozen section. So we're really excited about that. So again, that's really what PlantX is all about. So again, you guys are taking time out of your night. Please ask questions away. So on that, Jon, Heather, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us. No one ever wants to have their PR team on their broadcast. We're always swept under the rug, the dirty little secret.
No way. Well, you guys are front and center, and I can't thank you enough. And we'll get a little bit more into everything that you guys have done, because honestly, from my heart, I believe you guys are a lot more than just a PR company. And when we got introduced through Stacy, a person who advises for our company, and put that connection with Alex, I've used PR companies in the past. Some were fantastic. Some, definitely we didn't get what we thought we would out of them. And with you guys, it's just been tremendous. So I can't wait to share all of that. And before we get into anything to do with that, we always start our vodcast with asking, how do you guys take your coffee?
I'll go.
All right, yeah.
I actually drink mud water instead of coffee now for a few months. It's a client of ours, but truly, I've had 2 coffees when I didn't bring mud water with me somewhere. It's really great. It's like a chai. So it's a little bit lower caffeine, and I drink it either straight, so just water and mud, or I steam some oat milk.
Awesome. Cool.
Nice plug, Heather. That's in the business. I take my coffee black, and I do also drink mud water, but I oscillate. I'm a heavy caffeine user.
Great, cool. I have a bit of a combination of both of you. I have my coffee black, but sometimes I like it with oat milk. So pretty cool on that. And, before we jump in on a little bit about you guys, like Mudwater is a perfect example. It's a client of yours. The reason why we loved and we were drawn to your company was because you are a PR company that specializes in the plant-based space. And, not only are you just doing PR for us, but the clients that you have, you've really brought together really nicely, in our ecosystem as well. So, thank you for that. So maybe you could give a little bit of background on how you're focusing on the plant-based space and what you've experienced so far.
Yeah, so it's interesting because when we decided, because we don't only work with plant-based brands, but we do only work in wellness. But the brands that we work with in wellness are all plant-based. And when we made that decision, I wasn't plant-based. We made that decision because, one, we want to do something that helps people live better lives. That's kind of our core purpose. And we want to do something that is good for the environment and good for the world, and spend our energy, growing businesses that are going to help people. And in the beginning, actually, like, we have a good reputation in this space. And so there were a lot of brands that were, really well funded, that had really great stories, that were interesting brands, that were, meat heavy or meat focused, that we had to turn down. And obviously it was the right decision, and we feel really good about it. But I mean, we turned it down even before I was fully plant-based.
Yeah, I think it's really important to us, just sort of not only the value that we provide to our clients, but the value that our clients provide to our clients. Like you mentioned, being part of the Jack Taylor family, being a client in that ecosystem of, everything from startups to really established wellness brands. That, to me, like, if I was a prospective client, that's one of the sexiest parts of our pitch, I think, is that you are alongside all these really up and coming and also well-respected brands. And I think, brands like Hyperice, it's not a plant-based brand, but it's not an anti-plant-based brand. Jon says plant-based adjacent, right? So we're not going to take a bone broth company ever, in this chapter of ours. But yeah, certainly I think the successes that our brands share, and you mentioned Mudwater, like being able to sort of be in cahoots with each other is a really promising, like, value prop from a prospective client or client perspective.
Yeah, no, and I know you guys definitely care about that, because I couldn't understand. It was like we had to be interviewed to be accepted by the PR company. I kept saying to Alex, I don't have an hour a week to just go over what we do to get into it. And I thought that was a really interesting approach, how you make sure that you vet the companies, because you guys are so fantastic at what you guys do. And I'm sure our investors and customers and everybody could see, just go on our website and see all the different plugs you guys got for us so far. And it's even more than that, where you guys have gone well above and beyond, where, I didn't know that you would help us find different talent for different things that we put on and connections. So far the experience has just been really tremendous with you guys. And, not to put you guys on the spot, because I know you have like incredible companies that you work with, but what's different about PlantX? Like, why did you guys decide to take us on as a client, and what's been the most fun about working with our team so far?
So I think one of the reasons why we are really good, and thank you very much, that's really gracious, and it's the best compliment that you could give us also, publicly. Amazing. But one of the reasons why we're so good is that we are creative storytellers, and we work with brands that have story. And the truth about PR is that not every brand gets, PR. You don't get to get PR just because you can afford PR. I mean, you can, but it won't be very good if your brand doesn't have inherent story in it, And I always use these household name brands as examples. Kleenex. Kleenex is a household name brand. They have billions of dollars. They, like, They don't call it tissue, they call it Kleenex. And I can't really work with that brand. I'm not interested in it, but how am I gonna tell all these different varied stories all the time in all these different places? The brand doesn't have that depth. They have the iconography based on emotional attachment, and that's dope, and that's cool, and they built a great brand, but like, it's not interesting to me, and it's not helping people live better lives. The other side of that is that we work with good people. You can have a great brand with a great story. If you're not a human being that I want to be around, like, life is short, you know, there's lots of ways to make money, lots of brands to work with. So we put those two things together. And we only work with brands that help people in some way live their best life. And whereas, you know, the word vegan, let's call it vegan for a second, it used to be polarizing. You know, it used to be, and it still is to a degree, but that's going away. That's why people said plant-based, to get people in, because vegan, you know, it conjured an image of something that was a little bit angry, a little bit political. But that's actually going away, because what was once niche is becoming mass, and that image of the angry vegan is now, you know, not a thing. Movies like Game Changers and you know, all these great plant-based restaurants that are coming out, and all these great brands like Beyond Meat are out. And so there's a movement from niche to mass, which means more people are adopting this, which means there's more story to tell. And you guys are right in the middle of this, doing something amazing. It was, once I met you and I got to know you guys, I already knew I liked the brand. Once I met you and got to know you guys, it was a very easy decision.
Yeah, I actually kind of remember, and I referenced this in an email earlier, Alex, but I really remember those early talks with you guys, and just, you know, it's hard to tell, like, you can't always tell a good human, but there's vibes, and like, we're really into vibes, like Jon said. So the meet the maker, the people behind the thing, that's almost just as important to us as the thing itself. And then, you know, Jon mentioned the potential for story is really important to us. And something like PlantX, I mean, just inherently look at the categories on your website and the ones you just mentioned, you know, in the forward, Sean, like pets, plants, pantry, cosmetics, like, it's just a gold mine of storytelling opportunities. And so from a pitching perspective, it's a, you know, a real opportunity that we're always sort of able to, you know, no pun intended, turn a new leaf in terms of, you know, the pitch that we're going out with that week, or the campaigns that we're prioritizing that month. It's just like, it's fresh, you know, there's so much to talk about. So we're never struggling for a subject line or a subject matter.
It's also varied. You know, a few years ago, if you were talking about plants, you were talking, you know, to Veg News exclusively, which Veg News is great, but it was very, you know, insular. There was no market for stories beyond it. But now it's pop culture, and you know, that's a wonderful thing. And the truth is, it's just warming up. We are really in the beginning of this, and I truly believe, as someone who, by the way, is like semi-professional meat smoker, you know, like, I was really, really into that. But I really believe that in 100 years, people are going to look back on us and all the humans before us and be like, they used to eat meat.
Yeah, and on that, like, it's really interesting that you guys are identifying that. Somebody sent me a snippet yesterday that in all of Starbucks history, they've never seen as disruptive of a space of this alternative dairy movement as we've seen since COVID, essentially, or over the past few months. I thought that was really interesting and lines up exactly with what you guys were speaking about. And I mentioned it earlier in the show. Once we guys have, you know, we have you on this show, we really encourage people to send in questions, because when else will they get this chance to ask you live? And, you know, Heather, you always go above and beyond, and we always give away a gift each week to a viewer or somebody who really contributes to the team. And the team's put together these really great Valentine baskets. So we'd like to send one over to you this week. So following this show, please let us know where to go ahead and send that. So.
Oh, wow. Charm. Thank you.
Awesome.
That, if I could just piggyback on that, you know, the Valentine's baskets is a really good example. And Sean, I'm not just, you know, blowing smoke here. you guys, I think, are such a powerful partner because, we have an exchange, like you said, like once a week, we have our touch base and we talk throughout the week as needed. But anytime we have an idea, like, hey, if we had this, if X, then Y. Like if we had some Valentine's Day baskets, that would be great for Valentine's Day pitching. If we had some images that look like this, you and Alex and the whole team that we've interfaced with are just like, got it. You'll have it by tomorrow. And I think that that's so important to note out, just from a like eager and enthusiastic point of view. You're not just like, well, work with what you've got. You've got, like, we told you what it was. There's just such a fluidity and sort of an eagerness to do whatever is best for, like, obviously our mutual goal. But I'm just like constantly impressed just sort of with the well, I feel like Alex is a little superhuman in terms of like response times and things, but just, like getting back to us and just making things happen to sort of augment our mutual footprint.
No, and thanks for echoing that, because I say that a lot on our podcasts, how our team, whether it's our accounting team working around the clock, and you obviously experience a lot with our marketing and advertising team. And it's incredible how everybody's always willing to jump in around the clock, and you throw over an idea. And that's where I think we've meshed so well. The first month took a while to get things going. You said, don't worry, your story is great. You're going to see it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I still remember that big time, and how it's just snowballed completely now is truly remarkable. So again, your team's done great. And we obviously could speak probably for hours. Every week we kind of run to that last second in working together. So some people have written some questions. So the big one that I was always, when I got started in public markets, because PR is PR, but then IR is obviously investor relations. And sometimes people don't know how it differentiates.
You could go for that one, Heather.
Oh, gee, thanks. Well, you know what? I've never done IR, but I can tell you how we work with people in IR. So we have a few, public companies. Like I mentioned, a lot of our companies are like still in their seed round. And then we've got people at the opposite end of the spectrum that are, moving and shaking in the public-based space like you guys are. I think for us, it's really about being collaborative with the IR team. Our job on paper is consumer-facing press. So really, augmenting your footprint in, there was just a piece in CNET, in things like Veg News. And so really speaking to your potential consumers. That's usually like 80% of our brief as not only your PR firm, but anyone's PR firm. We want to get the buzz out there to your potential consumers, and obviously ultimately drive sales through those articles and Instagrams and however they manifest. I think what's really important is that we don't really, I mean, now I'm on tape saying this, so I better be careful, but we never say that's out of scope, right? Like we're not the kind of PR firm to say, sorry, that's not PR. Or like, you mentioned the talent acquisition. We're never going to be the people, like we just want to do what the brand needs at that time, because ultimately, whatever you guys need, whether it's traditional PR, which is the worst, or, brand building, influencer partnerships, VIP ambassadors, investor relation, help, that's all that all helps us. So I think it's really about being collaborative, seeing what your IR team is working on and creating a pitch that week for the financial sector of like consumer facing media, for the Forbes and the Fast Companies and the Fortunes and the entrepreneurs that really echo the sentiments that, the investment side would be benefiting from. And obviously when you're a public based company, we want to get as much momentum out there for you to help drive, your stock as well. So at the end of the day, there's another layer of sort of responsibility. We're not just trying to get you up your cool factor. We want to see the numbers go up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
I think, with IR, they're trying to get people excited about a brand financially. And with PR, I'm trying to tell a story that builds the brand, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to deliver any shareholder value in the near term. It often will not. It's about the continuity and the variety and the types of stories that you tell that over time build brands. But when we're talking about the day-to-day investor relation, there's a lot of companies that pump out press releases, several times a week. And I understand that. from the, investor perspective, but I'm much more interested in like long-term brand building, sustainable brand building.
Yeah, and like, well, Alex can tell you, like, you're a public company. You obviously press release all the time, but we kind of look at that with our eyes squinted and look for the storytelling opportunities that aren't just pure information sharing, but rather have legs to sort of, develop into a story or a storyline that we can then tell that benefits the financial sector, but is actually more of a lifestyle brand builder.
And besides us, like internally in the company, externally, it's so great that you guys know the story so well. You've been following it for a few months, us jumping on that once a week, going over those press releases and everything that we've put together. It allows you also to explain that story, like you said, better. And again, I think you guys go the extra mile by not just treating us as a client. You're actually part of the PlantX family. Even though you said we're part of the Jack Taylor family, you guys are part of the PlantX family as well. So, obviously from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you very much for being on the show today. Yeah. And we look forward to keep killing it with you guys. So, thank you once again for going above and beyond.
Man, thank you. Really humbling, and I'm so excited about you guys, about us, and we really are. Like, this is a very, very nascent company and a nascent market, and this is going to become, and you can see it all over the world, like a mass global movement, and we are right at the forefront of it, and it's super exciting.
Yeah, thanks, Jon. And thanks for always jumping in whenever you hear that we're looking for either some talent or a different direction, for using your personal contacts for us and getting things involved. And I know our investors and shareholders are going to be quite excited to see what comes in the next few weeks. So they don't need to wait too long for that. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So on that note, you got a chance to meet another dynamic team that we work with in the background. And that's the reason why we started this podcast weekly. Instead of just a press release going out, hey, we're working with Jack Taylor, or, different press releases that we announce all the time. Over 17 weeks, you've gotten the chance to see the type of people that work with PlantX. And hopefully you see that we're extremely different and that we think outside the box and put together the best of the best. Someone always says to me in the company, we always want to hire the best. And so far we've done a great job with that. And I don't think I've called them out yet, but Christina and Andrea, they worked through the holiday season, getting a chance to understand our company during the holiday and really take the time to then run the whole IR side of things by taking the stories and then making sure Jack Taylor gets those stories. So they've worked literally around the clock some nights. So I just wanted to go ahead and thank, and I could go ahead and thank our team all day long, because just everybody really puts their heart and soul into the company. So, once again, thank you very much for joining. I'd love to keep going a little bit longer. I've got about an hour to make it over to the Seattle airport so that I could get over to San Diego tonight, so we could rock this whole week. We've got a few interviews lined up, and I really can't wait to share everything. I'll make sure to get some videos to share with everybody and get it out on social media. So till next time, stay curious, stay planted, stay healthy. Cheers.